Happy 413, everyone! I think you guys would agree that we have to have our birthday boy, John Egbert, have the honors for this episode. Happy 21st birthday, John. Let's hope you don't drink like a Lalonde. It's just a theory, but John Egbert may be named for James Dallas Egbert III. Egbert was a student at Michigan State University who was incorrectly alleged to have disappeared into the school's steam tunnels for reasons related to the role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons. John's last name may also be a reference to Egbert, the movie critic, which would be connected to his love of movies. You would have to ask Cuttlefish, who originally named our main character on the old MS Paint Adventure forums. John is the only character whose screen name has changed at some point. His chum handle is Ectobiologist. It was formerly Ghostly Trickster, but he changed it in order to avoid the trolls. Oddly, he chose the name Ectobiologist based on a comment made by Terezi. John's current screen name, Ectobiologist, has the initials EB, which refers to Earthbound, as it's stated in Book 1 of Homestuck to be one of the video games that inspired Andrew Hussey to create the webcomic. Yeah, the printed copy of Homestuck. You remember when those were a thing? While most of the trolls typed in their blood color, the human kids typed in their eye color. Man, that would not work in the real-world chat rooms. Anyway, John's eyes are blue, matching his pester chum text. He was also the third kid to have his eye color revealed. Of course, everyone knows that John's weapon of choice is Hammerkind, but you might not remember that they're not the only ones he has. Throughout his journey with Spurb, John also wielded Umbrella-Kind and Bunny-Kind. Of course, he only used those once per weapon kind, but it's still fun to know, you know? When you first read through Homestuck, you might find it strange that it's considered a rite of passage to be able to lift a large fridge or safe. However, upon re-evaluation, it might not be too crazy for these kids. Keeping in mind that at the beginning of Homestuck, John Egbert was not even able to lift a sledgehammer without assistance, by the end of his 13th birthday, he's able to wield all kinds of ridiculously proportioned hammers with ease. No wonder it's expected that John would be considered a man after lifting a super heavy object, especially when you consider that the Spurb game causes its chosen heroes to grow up faster than usual through its convoluted hero's journey. The quote used on John's April 24, 2009 page was not Walter Whitman, though you probably guessed that. The quote, "Absence diminishes little passions and increases great ones, as wind extinguishes candles and fans a fire," is actually from 17th century French writer François de la Rochefoucauld. Well known for his maxims and memoirs, Rochefoucauld is labeled as a compassionate cynic towards humanity, seeing as he never condemned it or sentimentally celebrated it in his works. Now someone compare and contrast John Egbert to his lordship. I expect a paper on this in a week. Oh boy, more biblical references? Yeah! Let's all give a big facepalm of perception when you realize that John, the first guy we meet in the series, got into the medium by biting into an apple that the first girl we meet in the series helped him obtain. And the world was doomed, and Carcat shipped them so hard. As a refresher from the Carcat Fridgestuck episode, John the Apostle was also known as the disciple who Jesus loved. And lastly, there was a famous Jonathan in the Old Testament. Prince Jonathan was the heir to the throne of Israel, but was later slain in battle. However, his best friend, who was a warrior in the army, later became king of Israel instead. His name? King David. Just a little bit of nightmare fuel for you. John Captchalogue's beloved Casey the Salamander, right before he blasts off in his jetpack to his denizen's tower. So what happens to her when he dies in the alternate timeline? Oh no. One little thing I found kind of odd is that John is quote-unquote born wearing his glasses. Little ecto-babby John is wearing a pair of glasses that look identical to what his older self wears. Did his prescription stay the same for all those years? Now that I think of it, all the humans are born with their accessories, and I don't know why. Contrary to his love of action movies, John is the only human kid whose death before ascending to God tier was not by an explosion. And ironically, as the Ghostbusters fanboy, John is also the only beta kid to not have an alternate self prototyped into a sprite at some point in the comic. John's God tier title is the Air of Breath, a phrase that sounds similar to a breath of fresh air, which is someone or something that makes a situation feel new, different, and exciting. John's title, Air of Breath, may also be a play on Inherit the Wind, a phrase that comes from King Solomon's Proverbs, meaning someone who causes trouble for his family will inherit the wind. That's actually not a very positive thing now that you think about it. John's God tier title may also be a play on words of his favorite movie, Con Air. John's home is a real place. During soundpage WV Ascend, we are given the latitude and longitude of where John's meteor made contact. If you locate where the two intersect, the location is on a residential street at 21605 Fur Drive, Maple Valley, Washington. The address is further confirmed by a letter in PM's possession from a mailbox from the same neighborhood. To add to the irony, John lives 30 minutes away from the Tacoma Narrows, a bridge that once collapsed in 1940 due to incredibly high wind speeds. Also, according to the letter, Dad Egbert's real name is David Brinner. Good day. John has been shown to sport 2 different hairstyles throughout the comic. Okay, not the most significant change. John's hair was a different shape from the first page until he is seen with his current hairstyle from John resists great urge to take the wedge trail onwards. Contrary to popular belief, John's shirt does not have Slimer on the front of it. Andrew Hussey confirms that John's Ghost Slime shirt is a reference to a fictional Asian knockoff of the Ghost Slime from Ghostbusters. Birthday-wise, John's astrological sign is Aries. All the other human kids, other than Jane, are Sagittarius. On the first page of the Homestuck beta, it says that John was born on April 10th and was 10 years old. In the final version of Homestuck, John's birthday is April 13th, and his age was bumped up, as he's now 13 years old. 413. The number 413, or some variation of it, appears sporadically throughout Homestuck. The number is particularly fitting for a story about the apocalypse, as the number 4 in many East Asian countries is considered unlucky because it sounds very similar to the word for death, while 13 carries the same connotations in the West. In Chinese numerology, the numbers 1314 means an existence, or a lifetime. It's considered a lucky number, though it's worth noting that 413 means death throughout lifetime. I cannot think of a better number to describe Homestuck, to which many other Homestucks agree, taking enthusiastic glee whenever they see these 3 numbers together, and they have made April 13th a holiday for the fandom. Sorry, non-American Homestucks, we crazy Americans do the whole month, day, year dating system, so my apologies if you missed out on this until now. To avoid filling up 90% of the video showing all the references, all of them, to 413, I'll just name a few subjectively significant ones. Before the main credits, every time we see John, it is miraculously always his birthday. In fact, most of Homestuck takes place on John and Jane's birthdays. This fact is often joked about in the webcomic, like when Jade asked the Magic 8-Ball if it was John's birthday, and the 8-Ball responds with, "Not exactly," as while it was John's birthday in the story, the panel itself was uploaded at the end of October. Meanwhile, every other Spurb kid was born in December, making them all 4 months and 13 years old at the start of the comic. 413 is sometimes hidden in the panels themselves, such as Dave's crocodile clock on Lohack, Rose's dress and scarf in this image, and these coincidentally placed pool balls in the Midnight Crew intermission. Some of the songs on Homestuck's Bandcamp page are 4 minutes and 13 seconds long, and many of the albums can be purchased for $4 and 13 cents. Continuing with merchandise, for the April 13th, 2015 Giga sale, everything in the What Pumpkin store was 41.3% off. That was such a good sale. In 2004, asteroid 99942, Apophis, was predicted to have a small chance of impacting Earth on April 13th, 2036, before later observations ruled out that possibility. I bet you nerds would have loved for that to happen, wouldn't ya? For you aspiring chemists, the bond energy of a carbon-hydrogen bond is 413 kilojoules per mole. CH bonds are the most common chemical bonds found in all life we have discovered in the universe. And lastly, by some twist of fate, Andrew Hussey lives, or at least lived at one point, in western Massachusetts, under the area code 413. Okay, those last three were probably coincidences. Probably. A bit of a TMI fridge fact, but as seen in this flash, John seemingly wears black boxers with green ghost slimes on them. Just, what is my life? And our last Fridgestuck fact for John Egbert is... Okay, remember the beginning of Act 1? We see John Egbert, armless, and we set off commanding him to retrieve his arms from his chest. The thing is, that's just the art style. John has had his arms attached to his chest the whole time. What a silly webcomic, you think. But then, it hits you. What was that previous panel again? What the what? Is that a mouse hand symbol affecting what's happening in John's house? This brings up a whole lot of questions. It can't be Rose's doing because the Spurb discs are still out in the mailbox at this point. Is that John moving the cake? Is it Carcat? Is it actually you, the reader? But most importantly, imagine the horror of being John and witnessing a cake fly off your chest after hearing voices recently commanding you to retrieve your arms. This is like Twitch plays Pokemon before Twitch plays Pokemon. Thank you guys so much for watching this Fridgestuck episode for John Egbert. I hope you enjoyed. Any facts I missed? Do you have a character or a concept that you'd like to see? Leave it down in a comment below and it might end up on the show someday. Be sure to give a like, comment, subscribe, and share with a friend, and I will see you all next time.